Welcome to the Black Entrepreneur Experience podcast, inside the business, buzz, and brilliance of Black entrepreneurs. Here is your host, Dr. Frances Richards.
What happens in Vegas goes all over the world on Black Entrepreneur Experience episode number 111. Thank you for joining us as we elevate the Black Entrepreneur Experience by interviewing CEOs, thought leaders, innovative thinkers, and Black entrepreneurs across the globe. I'm your host, Dr. Frances Richards, and today I am humbly honored to have with us an attorney. Can you imagine disrupting the status quo even when tragedy could have paralyzed your life? But not so, said this leading lady, attorney Tiyani Majoko, a co-founder of Lawgistics Legal Consultancy firm, Code Hub Africa, and founder of the legal Werk. Welcome, attorney. How are you?
Thank you so much, Dr. Richards, for having me on, and hello to your listeners. I'm really excited to share my journey, to talk about my work that I do, and to meet some of the people that are listening.
You know, you have such an extensive background, and I've given just a real brief bio. Why don't you share with our audience what you'd like them to know about you and your business?
A business perspective, I run a legal consulting firm called Lawgistics Legal Consultants. And next month, we're celebrating 5 years of being in business, which is something we're very grateful for. And it's really just a blessing to have had, I wouldn't say it's not roaring success, but to have been able to sustain ourselves and to sustain the business and have a good clientele for this amount of time. It was very difficult at the beginning, including a stint of not having a place to live when I was starting the business. And so for it to still be here, growing, and just the plans that we have for the future, it's something that is very special and means a lot for me. Apart from being an attorney, I also write, and one of the places that I've decided to express my writing is on the platform I've built now called the Legal Werk. And within there, I want legal professionals. So the legal profession is so broad and there's so many areas of it. And at times you find that not all people in the legal profession ever get a space to all connect. So we have lawyers like myself. Then there are advocates, which are specialists of legal areas. Then we have your judges, or magistrates that people forget actually have a legal training. Maybe not forget, but they take them out of the normal context of legal practice. And then we have your in-house counsel. So these are your lawyers that work in-house at companies, whereas other types of lawyers tend to either work for themselves or work within a big law firm or law firm context. So creating that platform is really important so that we can help legal professionals to enhance their work, their professional work, their lifestyles, as well as, make sure that the work that they're doing is actually feeding them as a person holistically and that they are growing and developing in line with their purpose in life. So these are, two things that I do in line with my profession that I'm very excited about. But I'm not going to just keep rambling on.
No, that's good. What was that aha moment, attorney, that you knew that your business was going to be successful?
I think they come every day, honestly. It's not just one moment. It's been a combination of moments when a client or someone that you've been trying to get a hold of finally responds to your email and they tell you to come for the meeting. And then after the meeting, they ask for a quote. And after the quote, you send the letter of engagement. It's just every opportunity to keep going and to keep working is a aha moment. It's always an affirmation. But I think what showed me was probably right at the beginning of the business, because I honestly started the business just as a joke. Not a joke, but I wasn't very, very serious, and I actually thought of the name of the business, which is Lawgistics. So I was doing a due diligence exercise on trucking companies, which is the logistics space. And I was just thinking to myself, wouldn't it be cool to have a business that is called Lawgistics as opposed to logistics? And I just wrote that name down, and then it just started to all come together. So I think right there from that beginning, just that affirmation, the creativity in coming up with that, and just to keep on being creative then in the types of solutions that we can provide to clients and the way that we introduce people to the law. So anytime I get the opportunity, or I give myself, create the time and the space to think like that, that for me shows that this business is important, is relevant, and still has quite a long way to go.
So talk about your ideal client. Who is an ideal client for your company?
That has changed quite a bit from the time that we started. My partner and I we used to work in big law firms, so international law firms. And working in those international law firms, we were mining law specialists. So she was an environmental law specialist, and I was a specialist in the regulatory aspect and the commercial law aspect of mining. So when we left the firm, we thought we were going to set up a mining practice. And what we discovered very quickly is that big mining companies have an affinity for big law firms. And it's very hard to break into that space and be able to start working with them. So we quickly had to then change our ideal client and right now our ideal client is a company that is on a growth trajectory. So these are high growth companies that are in need of someone to walk the legal journey with them as they are still growing themselves. So right now they're mostly very operational at this point, and they don't really have the infrastructure to fully support themselves from a corporate governance or from a legal standpoint. So they don't have like a legal department, and they outsource that function to us for us to provide that to them. So these are companies, not really a startup, but really it's more of a scale up, a company that's scaling up and is moving from, they've figured out their customer base and so forth, but now they're trying to go from maybe being a $50,000 or $100,000 revenue company to becoming $1 million revenue company, or 10 million, from 1 million to 10 million. And they just need legal assistance and closing those gaps.
Talk about financing and capital raised to start your business, because you had mentioned on the forefront that you had worked for an existing law firm, and then you talked about building the business that you were almost homeless. So take us on that journey about the capital. Actually, a lot of people want to know, how did you get the capital to start your business?
All right. So with a services-based business, what I've generally found, and this is one of my areas that I'm quite passionate about, is that with a services-based business, such as professional services like legal and accounting and so forth, it can sometimes be difficult for you to find external funding. So what you have to do is to be prepared to fund yourself. Unfortunately, I wasn't in the best position to do that, because after I left the international law firm, I worked in a small oil and gas company as the legal advisor there. And I was working for someone who was really ambitious about his dreams for Africa and developing natural resources across the continent, or finding natural resource assets and then developing them. And obviously, type of a business of that nature is extremely capital intensive, because you are doing what we call greenfield exploration. So at some point his money ran out and he was unable to pay me for 4 months. He wasn't able to pay me a salary for 4 months. And it was within that time that I decided that I was going to go full time. I had logistics, the company was registered, but I was building it up slowly, doing a little bit of work on the side. I wasn't fully fledged into it. And when that happened, I decided to go full time, which in retrospect, I had no savings because I hadn't been paid for 4 months. I was in a lot of credit card debt because that's what I was now living off. And then I decided to start a business. So that was really the best cocktail of finding money and putting money together. But fortunately, one of the things that I had done when I left the firm was that I'd always made sure that I keep my expenses as low as I possibly could, such that it would give me freedom to be able to do something else if I ever wanted to. So since my expenses were so low, in as much as I wasn't earning a lot or earning anything at some point, I didn't need huge amounts of money to sustain myself. And then I just really started working and honestly just selling time. That's really the only way I can describe it. But what I was able to do is I found there was a company, another legal consulting company that was moving into South Africa, and they needed help in navigating the South African legal system. So I consulted with them for 6 months, and that's what gave me a break in terms of getting back into like a financial flow once again, and then from then doing work for other clients, and then we have got to sign up our retainer with one of our clients, and then it's just been growing from there. But what we are doing now is launching a business retainer plan for small to medium enterprises, or those scale-ups I was describing, such that they then pay a fixed fee for legal services every month, and they don't get a huge shock when they get their invoice at the end of the month. But the fee is capped, and they can get all kinds of services on the packages that we offer.
What problem exists in the world today that you would like to solve?
Wow, there's so many. There are so many problems that I would want to get involved in solving. But I think, I don't think I can pick just one. But I think one of the biggest problems that we have is a problem of, I feel like it's just like hopelessness sometimes, like where as people we just can't find our way in terms of when we face challenges, and then, people spiral, they fall into things like depression, abuse of substances, or even the most detrimental thing being, deciding to take their own lives. So what I would want to do is to infuse the world some joy and some hope through sharing my own life experiences, through the businesses that I build, and through the opportunities that I can extend to other people so that they don't feel like forgotten or counted out of society.
So, attorney, what made you go into the career path of legal and to become an attorney? Was there something, an incident that happened, or someone that was helping you go down that path?
My parents are both attorneys, so that probably might have been a clue a little bit. But I was interested in the work that they did. They had their own legal practice, so I would see them working there, long days, long nights, and just to see their impact in the community was something that I really enjoyed. Just admired the respect that people gave them and the work that they did. I didn't understand what exactly they did, but I knew that people thought well of them, and so that was one of the motivators. But then in 2001, my mother and my brothers, who were 5 and 7, and our nanny, they were murdered when we lived in Botswana, which is where they were staying. At the time, I was in boarding school in another country, and I think that then was something that I wanted to continue my parents' legacy. But then as I then grew older, I discovered that, yes, I wanted to continue their legacy, but do it in a different way, do it in my way. And then that was also part of the things that then birthed Lawgistics and the way that we operate compared to like your conventional legal practices.
And sorry to hear about your loss. Was that just your mom? It wasn't your mom and dad?
No, it wasn't. My dad is still alive. He lives in Zimbabwe, and he still practices law.
Yes, thank you for that. What advice, attorney, was given to you that you wish you had followed?
I wish I had followed. Probably to stop eating so much sugar. Yeah, that's advice that I wish I followed. Probably something around just being more financially prudent. That was some advice that I got, where someone was like, don't take out a credit card. And that was really good advice that I wish I had followed. And just to avoid getting into debt. Thank God and thankfully, I've been able to reduce my debt to nothing. I was able to close off anything that I owed institutions at the end of last year. So it's now I'm in a wealth creation phase. So I'm starting, and it's just the unfortunate thing that I'm only starting to save now and starting to look at wealth creation opportunities now. Whereas if I had started doing that earlier in my life, I would probably have like been in a much better financial position. So I think saving is the one thing that I wish I'd actually taken seriously and done much earlier.
So with your wealth creation strategies besides savings, do you have another hack that you want to share with the audience in reference to wealth creation? And you did say about eliminating debt, which is definitely taking you onto that path of creating wealth. Any other strategies you want to share about that?
I think one of the bigger things is increasing my streams of revenue. That's something that's very important. That's one of a bigger way to also part of my wealth creation strategy. So apart from the legal work, the legal businesses that I involvement in the legal fraternity, I also have my own podcast, which is a little bit similar to yours, Dr. Richards, in that I speak around entrepreneurship. So the podcast is called Cheat the Hustle. And what we discuss there are principles around entrepreneurship that, if applied correctly, will give you leverage in order for you to be successful. So we talk about the normal elements that everyone discusses around entrepreneurship, like mentorship, funding, networking, social media, and so forth. But how do you actually use those in a way that helps you to basically cheat the entrepreneurship hustle for you to be able to be successful? So that's right now, it's not profitable as yet, but that's one of the ways that I'm looking to increase my revenue, as well as working on writing a book. But it's really just using the talents and the gifts that I have to use those to the extent that I can to create wealth. So definitely increasing revenue is very important. Unfortunately, at the moment, most of the ways I've identified need me to do a lot of the work. I think that that's important for the upstart, and then eventually get to a place of passive income, as well as I'm looking to invest in a property.
So on your podcast, are you interviewing entrepreneurs across the globe, or is it primarily entrepreneurs in Africa? And is it are you dealing with just from the Black diasporas or any and all entrepreneurs?
I am dealing with any and all entrepreneurs. The content is primarily for entrepreneurs on the African continent, because of this, I want to talk about principles. I guess it's by legal thinking that makes me approach it from that perspective, because I believe that when you have a principle, you can apply a principle. Anybody can apply a principle and be successful. And so I speak with entrepreneurs that are able to show how they applied that principle and were successful. So I've had someone from China. I've had he's an African entrepreneur, but he's based in Silicon Valley. I've had someone that works in one of the big global fellowships called Ashoka Foundation, or the Ashoka Fellowship, that's based in DC. I've spoken with local business people. So it's any person that can show successful application of the principle, regardless of where they're from.
Thank you for that.
Yeah.
And you're absolutely right. We can learn from successful entrepreneurs. So tell us a brand or a business that is dominating or you admire, and why.
Oh, wow. A brand that I really admire is Starbucks, as well as Spanx. And okay, Spanx, I love the product. I need the product. And I also just admire the spirit of the founders. So the founder of Starbucks and the founder of Spanx, Howard Schultz of Starbucks and then Sarah Blakely of Spanx, and just their genuineness in the way that they lead their businesses, and that the values that they espouse, it's not just something that they talk about, but it's who they are and what they live as well in their own lives. And for me, that's very important, that authenticity in the way that you work in your business, as well as how you grow your brand. I like Starbucks. Obviously, Starbucks has changed the culture around how people live, work, and even play, in that when it's more than just you going in somewhere and having a cup of coffee. And I know that there was the incident last year in the USA around one of the managers, and then what ended up happening with the police. But what I also look at is the response that the leadership had in that instance as well, and how quickly they worked to rectify things and to put their people through a training around, like, I guess, the racial sensitivity and the climate and empathy and so forth. So it's not just about money, it's really about making a positive impact. And that's the type of business that I like to get behind.
And how have you taken those principles from a leadership perspective and incorporated it in your own business as a co-founder?
I still have a lot of learning to do. There are many places and times when I completely fail at leadership or leading the people that are part of this organization. But one of the things that I always do is to make sure that I'm completely approachable at all times, regardless of if it's a client, if it's someone who's part of the team, to be constantly approachable, and also allowing people to give their input as well in the strategy and in the plans that we have. That's something that's important so that they can also take ownership of the goals as well. And I'm always trying to push the envelope in terms of creativity and to get us to go in a new direction, in a different direction, and to show that courage, to show that the vulnerability as well, to sometimes say, I'm making a mistake and I'm not sure if we're still going the right way, or if what we're doing is still what we set out to do, and what do you guys think? So to keep in that constant feedback and communication loop is very important for me as well.
Attorney, is there a technology tool or a technology platform that is a must-have for you in managing your business day to day?
I'd love to say there is, but I think it's really just emails. I just keep a very tight lid on my emails. But I'm also, as a person who now, with respect to the blog, with the legal work, I have a content calendar. So I use an app called Content Cal, which helps me to plan out the content calendar for the year. So in terms of events, in terms of Instagram posts, and then also in terms of blog topics to discuss on the blog on a monthly basis. So that's just what I do, just to help me be more precise in that way. And I'll probably integrate that as well for the podcast as well. But with respect to the legal aspect of things, I don't have anything per se that I need to use on a daily basis.
Tell us about your podcast. How can we listen to it, and how often do you release a new episode?
So I'm launching it. It should be coming out next week, Wednesday, and I'm doing it in conjunction with an online radio station called Africa Business Radio. But there are some episodes available on SoundCloud now. I think I've got 4 or 5 episodes on SoundCloud that people can find. The channel is called Cheat the Hustle. And I release an episode every week. So I'm doing it in seasons. So the first season will be out, the first full season. So I will be releasing one weekly, but it's 13 episodes. And then there's a bonus episode with the Silicon Valley entrepreneur, because his discussion was all-encompassing. So I discussed every topic across the range with him. So that's basically the bonus episode, because when we think of entrepreneurs that have gone to Silicon Valley, we always automatically expect that they've had great success. But he was, sharing how he went through that entire cycle, raised $4 million. He raised $4 million and then the business still didn't work out. That sometimes people need to hear that side of things. But, he's still active and he still has a new dream and he's still doing, other things because that's another element around how entrepreneurs identify themselves with their work. And if your project then doesn't work out, then it feels like you as a human being haven't worked out, but it's actually, look at it as an adventure. So we spoke about those things. So how to get back after, failure and so forth. So I think it's a great podcast, but I'm biased. I think it's very relevant topics for where maybe someone who's in a company right now and is thinking of starting their own business but just doesn't know where to begin. So it's really practical in that respect. Or if you're someone who has been running a business and you're trying to figure out why some things aren't quite working out, I think, that's really a show for you.
And speaking of when you hit that bump in the road, how do you reset or adjust once you personally hit that bump in the road?
When I'm faced with overwhelming challenges or just unsure of what to do next, what I like to do is I'm a person of faith. So one of the first things I'll do is really just to pray about it and seek wisdom. Then something else that I then will do is make lists. I live on lists. So I'll make a list of everything that is happening. And then when I've got my list in front of me, then I can start to prioritize what needs to happen immediately for me to be able to, move forward, or what is the next thing that I then need to do. And then categorize those items into, okay, this has to be done now, and then put everything into boxes and see what needs to happen when, and what I can do in the short term, what is more long term, so that I don't just let everything feel like it's coming at me all at once. So definitely writing it out, looking at it on a piece of paper, and then organizing from there. That's also something that's very helpful in just helping me to reduce my anxiety.
So, attorney, what is your biggest achievement so far in your business?
I can't pinpoint one exact thing, but I think for us, having the doors still open, looking at where we started from, that for me is really a big achievement, and that we still have people that we started out with that were our clients right from the start that have stuck with us, which clearly shows that we're doing something right. There's something that we know. I'm really proud of the quality of work that we produce. We have not ever had a client complain about the quality of work that we've given to them. That's something that we've never experienced, and we want to continue on that path. We might have a client say, the bill is too high, your fees are getting out of hand, or something of that nature, but they haven't ever said that we are not attentive or that we have given them bad quality work. That hasn't been our experience. And I want us to maintain that. We have to maintain, and definitely maintain at the minimum, and actually improve such that the entire experience that a client has with us is absolutely seamless and as close to perfect as possible.
Talk about your top 2 influencers in life and what lessons did they teach you?
My top 2 influencers would have to be, first of all, my father. I think you'd be very surprised to hear me saying that. But there's a lot that, as I'm now an adult myself and I'm now a person in business myself, and I face challenges as a grown up, I think though that he actually handled things, gave me a very good perspective on how to carry myself as well. My dad is that type of person who, of course, yes, first of all, he's an attorney, but he's the type of person who believes in doing things above board. And I'd always think why doesn't he, do something that it might be considered a little bit shady, but then it'll make him, or make us more money and we'll be more comfortable. But as I'm just watching things happening in the media now, just how important corporate governance is, and how important transparency, and just how people are now, calling for and demanding information on operations and so forth, just to see that being a person of integrity is important, and being a person that is humble and very relatable is also important, regardless of your status in society, that for you to have an open door, be someone that's always willing to help. Those are really important qualities in a human being, and those are things that I saw him embody. My second big influence is probably some cliche, but probably Miss Oprah Winfrey. And again, her relatability. I like people that are honest and that are real and that make you feel at ease. And in as much as I don't know her personally or in any way, but she has that ability to disarm people, for people to just show up as they are, and she just makes you feel like you're enough. But not only that you're enough, but you have a big job to do, and that there's so much for you to fulfill in the state or in the position and the place that you're in. So I think for what she's done as a woman of color in the media, and also in just highlighting and telling Black people's stories in a really beautiful way. I like the collaboration that she's got with Ava DuVernay in the production that is Queen Sugar. And I think that is absolutely, it's such an incredible production. It's artistic, it's real, it's beautiful, it's relatable. The emotions are so raw and so real. And I absolutely just enjoy watching that and just watching her career, watching her progress from newsreader to television host to owner of the network to actress to now producer and executive director. And I guess, but in everything that she's doing, it's just that golden thread of just telling true stories. And it just encourages me to be like, okay, what's the golden thread of my life going to be?
Absolutely. Oprah is an amazing billionaire entrepreneur, and I have to definitely ditto everything that you've said about her, how she reinvented herself and she continues to reinvent herself and she continues to be an innovative thinker and just a thought leader. And she's just really a dynamic woman. So I agree with you 100%. What have you not done in life that you dream about often?
I often dream about starting a business up in the tech space. And I dream about that probably every day, thinking about setting up a company in Silicon Valley and just going through the process of creating a product or providing people with a solution to maybe a problem that they hadn't thought of solving, but that's very, very important. I do have some ideas around that. And I am actively trying to get myself into those type of spaces by joining organizations locally that focus on tech. And that was part of my impetus on starting Code Hub Africa, trying to see how we can activate our young people on this continent, give them resources and opportunities and skills in order for us to not only keep, Silicon Valley shouldn't be the mecca, but at this time it is, because there aren't really a lot of places that have really contained or captured and set alight the spirit of entrepreneurship like that space has, that they've got that ecosystem balance so right. And I just want to be able to experience that so that I can find a way to bring it back. But not just the experience from just going to look, but to actually participate in it, to build a business, to survive, to live, to thrive, to succeed, and then to detach and bring that back home to our local leaders in government, because I don't think they quite get what's supposed to happen around how to build up an entrepreneurship ecosystem. It's so many delicate things that I've read about and I think about, and I watch the shows religiously and I listen to the leaders of that space on a frequent basis. But I don't think that's enough. I actually need to go there and get into it for myself. So that's something that I'm really, really passionate about and really curious about and just really driven to make it happen.
Absolutely. And maybe with your contact in Silicon Valley, maybe you can collaborate with that gentleman and come up with something.
Yes, definitely. I want to use those relationships, but I've also been very blessed to have been accepted into Cornell University for this year to study an LLM in law, technology, and entrepreneurship. I'm on a funding. I'm looking for money. So if anyone of your audience has got a blank check, I'm here to receive those funds and to direct them towards the school fees so that I can, again, it's just something. And in as much as Cornell it's in New York, but I think there's also a lot of things that are going to be happening there with Amazon moving to New York, as well as I think they said Google has set up another office in New York as well. And just there's also, a really good energy around business. It might be more around, established businesses, but I think it's going to be an amazing introduction into the system, coming in as a student and then eventually becoming a creator.
Well, much success, and definitely keep us posted. And I agree with you 100% because I think about Seattle they've done the startup. Utah has done an amazing job at doing their own little like Silicon Valley, and Atlanta is doing an amazing job too, building theirs out. And where I'm at in Las Vegas, we have tried to build it out, and it's been a little bit challenging. So it takes a lot to build out that strong tech hub where it could really boost not only the economy, but bring in a lot of venture capitalists and really put itself on the map. So I'm looking forward to hearing what you end up doing.
Thank you so much. I was in Las Vegas 2 years ago for my 30th birthday.
Oh, nice. Very nice. So talk about your legacy. When it's all said and done, how do you want to be remembered?
When it's all said and done, I want to be remembered as a person who brought people fun, joy, laughter, who allowed people to be themselves, to be real. I want people to feel my energy, positive energy. I want people to feel my exuberance, my enthusiasm, my empathy, my compassion. I want people to feel that. But not only that, and I really want people to know God through my life. That's something that's probably the most important thing, that people get to be curious, to be like, what drives her, what gives her this energy, this this enthusiasm for life. And I mean, the answer for that, I just, point them to God. And that's really what it is that I want people to, at the end of the day, when it's all said and done, I'm not doing things only for like the current benefit in terms of my own personal comfort, but it's really for something bigger, for someone bigger, and just to point people in that direction.
So if you conducted this interview, what is the one question you would have asked yourself? And I'd like you to answer that question.
The one question I would have asked myself, wow, that's a really difficult question. I think the one question that I would want to ask myself is, what are you reading? I like to find out what people are reading because I want to understand what frame of mind they're in, not judging, but based on the type of material that they take in. So I would have asked, what are you reading at the moment?
Well, so what are you reading at this moment?
At the moment, I am reading a book. I read like 3-4 books at a go. So I keep changing between, but I'll just mention probably the 2 that are 4 in my mind. So I'm reading one book called The Art of Gathering. It's about how to create meaningful events, meetings, gatherings that go beyond just like the normal ritualistic way that people meet around a topic or around a discussion, so that the meeting and the discussion is actually meaningful and goes deeper, and it invokes people to be keen to meet again, and that, they get value for their time. And you as the person who's organizing it, you also, you get like a deeper insight into what exactly it is that people need, so that you can keep meeting that need. And as through the legal, as a business in general, I mean, I meet people all the time. I have events on a quarterly basis, so I'm interacting with people frequently, and so I want to know how to put together meaningful gatherings, discussions, and meetings. The second book that I'm reading is Michelle Obama, Becoming, which is, I feel like every person in the world, or at least every woman of color right now, is just going through that place of discovery. And I think it's such an important book because everyone's like, you want to. We often see Michelle in the shadow, not really the shadow, but like within the context of who her husband is. And we've known that Michelle is a powerhouse. We know that she is an incredibly strong woman, but I don't think we really knew her story or knew who she was before all of that, and even who she was within that time that she was in the White House. And I think it's been, as a professional woman, she was also an attorney, or she is a lawyer by training. Seeing her, in the role as a professional woman who then became a mother, who then became a first lady, and all of that. It's such an important story to form part of my own world as well. So I'm really enjoying that at the moment.
And thank you for sharing that. Absolutely. And I think that she's an amazing woman for her to have come out of the White House and to tell her story in a way that, and one of the things just listening to your story is how you talk about being very relatable. And you mentioned the book about the art of gathering, and that's just what I'm listening to you. It's part of your purpose is connecting people. And it's not surprising the two books that you mentioned. And even with one of the words that described Michelle Obama was being relatable. And the fact that she did it with such grace and just everyone felt like they knew her, like she was their friend. So that's pretty amazing. So thanks for sharing. We've come to the part of our interview where it's called Fun Facts Lightning Round, and I'm going to ask you a series of questions, and I'd like you to give me very quick answers. Are you ready for the Fun Facts Lightning Round?
I am ready for the Fun Facts Lightning Round.
Tell us the last movie you saw.
Nobody's Fool.
And you relax doing what?
Reading and napping and cooking. I love to cook.
Nice. Your favorite singer or rapper?
My favorite singer or performer is Beyonce, and rapper would have to be, so cliche, it's Drake.
Your favorite dance song?
My favorite dance song, there's so many songs that come out all the time, but right now, as we speak, probably my favorite dance song is Money by Cardi B.
What food you eat every week, no matter what?
I have fruit no matter what. No matter what, I'll have I feel like the most consistent food I have is pineapple.
And what is your favorite month?
My favorite month is December because that is my birthday month. And my birthday is the 22nd of December. So it's just before Christmas, people have money. So I always get good gifts. And it's just easy for me to get nice things to happen for me because everyone is just festive and everything is flowing. They've got their December bonuses and they're just in a really good mood. So I really like December because my birthday celebrations they just get better and better every year.
I love that. Thank you so much, Attorney Majoko, for joining us on Black Entrepreneur Experience. Before we conclude, can you tell our audience the best way for them to connect with you and if they desire to do business with you, your social media handles?
Well, first of all, thank you so much for having me. It's really been fun having this discussion with you, Dr. Richards. And thank you so much once again, like I said at the beginning, for creating this space on this platform. I wish you greater success. If your listeners are looking for me, they can find me on Instagram at The Legal Werk. That's work with an E. So at The Legal Werk, one word, but work is spelled with an E. The same applies on Twitter. And my email address is editor@thelegalwerk. So just editor@thelegalwerk. Alternatively, they can Google Lawgistics Legal Consultants. So it's Lawgistics, LAWGISTICS legal, legal.co.za. So they can Google Logistics Legal and they will find our full company details there, as well as my email address, and they can pop me an email, and I'd just be so happy to connect with anybody. My personal Twitter handle is at Tiyani, which is TEYANI. So TEYANI. That's my personal Instagram. My personal Twitter handle, and they must not judge me by the quality of my tweets. But yeah, I look forward to connecting with everybody.
Thank you. That's a wrap.
Thank you for listening and subscribing to Black Entrepreneur Experience. We would love for you to leave a review and rating on iTunes and share with your friends. For show notes and more episodes, go to www.beepodcast.com. Join us next Wednesday, and remember, green is the new black. So keep your bank accounts and your business in the black.